in the background anyway.
Yeah,
it's really cool. All right. One thing I found out I knew you were a musician, but I also took notice in one of your posts on Facebook that you're also a jewelry artist too.
Yes.
That part I didn't know about, honestly.
This is one of my necklaces.
Okay. So how'd you get in musician and jewelry artist? It's kind of usually normal, like, it's an interesting combination, but it's all creativity, but it's like to a certain aspect, it's totally different. How'd you get into both?
Well, my mother is a crafter, and she makes tons of different crafty things and artsy things. I've always been creative in some manner, whether it's music or making things. I make water features, I make crystal necklaces, I make tiki torches, I make really pretty lights with, you take Christmas lights and put them inside an old wine bottle.
Okay.
And
I never thought about that. That must be somewhat like with the with the reflections and everything. It must be really
it
wild.
looks beautiful. Like, I have my porch set up. Like, if you go on my Facebook, you can see pictures of it. It's beautiful. It just gives such a nice ambiance.
So the creativity it's basically genetic and runs in your blood versus some people it's like they're more naturally where they're better with numbers, but then they learn the creativity versus but it runs in your blood and it's genetic.
It seems to run in my family. My grandmother sang, my grandfather sang on my dad's side. My dad is a musician. He plays guitar and sings. And then my mother does all the crafty stuff.
And how'd you get into the harmonica? That's not usually, it's a different instrument, especially with, I realize with the blues and everything, but in today's world, you don't really see things like the harmonica that much anymore.
Especially not with female musicians.
Right. It's almost like, it's more rare than a female drummer in a band now, honestly.
Well, the harmonica started, I had a band way back when I was probably in my 20s, and it was called Cynical.
You really know how to make a guy feel old. You really know how to make
And we used to do some Pat Benatar and Chrissy Hynde stuff. And there was one Chrissy Hynde song that had harmonica in it. So I picked up the harmonica that was the right one for that song and just figured out the part. I don't know, I guess I just kind of hear it. I never...
So you learn by listening versus reading the music and studying it.
I hear when I'm hitting the right notes.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't know what notes I'm playing when I play harmonica. I just play, and I don't even know how I ever figured it out.
It just kind of came. It almost came naturally to you.
Yeah. And my dad played harmonica. He played Bob Dylan style, Neil Young style.
Okay.
So I do that too.
Okay, now how long have you been doing the music and not counting like when you were a kid, but how long have you been seriously doing the music and seriously doing the art?
When I was 19 is when I started that's when my dad gave me a guitar. And I learned how to play 3 chords. And I learned 3 songs with those 3 chords. And I started going to Phil Stahl's open mics. And I remember when I went there and I said, "Hey, my dad used to play at your open mics." He said to me, "The day somebody comes in and says, 'My grandfather used to play at your open mics,' I'm done." I'm retiring, I'm hanging it up.
No, you're talking about a part of the music history.
To be the ones that go to his open mic.
and shut it down, essentially. I like that. Now, you just mentioned something very interesting about the Lehigh Valley in general, though. Phil Stahl.
He is a fixture here.
You have the Fun House.
Yeah.
You have Godfrey Daniels. You even have the Main Gate, which started in 1980. I don't know, but I'm getting into more. People talk about the history of Lehigh Valley, but the music history.
We played the Fun House when I was younger.
There's still a lot of living music history here in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah.
Am I right? This area is
a very musical area, and a lot of different types of music happen here.
Yeah, everything. I'm mainly a rocker, but like tonight here at the Artisan Wine and Cheese, it's more of a jazz type. You have like Sunday night, for example, over Pictures. You have mainly the blues. Jabberjaws over in Allentown. That's mainly like the real hard rock, real hard metal. You know. Now this brings up an interesting point. Something I've heard recently by more and more people. There's some people say that Lehigh Valley really doesn't have a music scene anymore, where all the best music venues that used to be here are gone. All the original music scene, it's hard for, it's become all cover bands in the area.
That is true.
Would you agree with that?
Yes. There used to be a lot of different venues that supported local musicians and bands. I remember playing at the Green Pine Inn.
Sterling Hotel.
Sterling Hotel. I actually never played there. I sat in with Bev and the BC and the Blues crew it used to be. I sat in with her there. What's another one?
Can I take you back?
It used to be over off of Catasauqua Road. Race, was it, not Cat...
I think I know what you're talking about.
Catasauqua Road. It was not Race Street. It was... What was the name of that street?
Well, maybe this might jog your memory.
Linco.
Okay.
Club
Yeah.
Avenue. Club Avenue.
Yeah, it used to be
What's that place called?
Club Dimensions? No, that was the 90s. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it because I want to take you back even further, back to the 70s and early 80s. Airport Music Hall.
Oh my God. I used to
Yes,
work
I
at
do
the
remember
Airport
that.
Music Hall for Tom McCool. Tom McCool was the one that ran that,
Yep.
and he was a friend of mine.
And if I remember correctly, that was one of the places that caught fire and it just never rebuilt it, if I remember.
I used to work there as a bartender, but as a bartender, all I did was open cans of beer and hand them to people. It was the funniest job I ever had.
And then, of course, you had the 90s where, late 80s, early 90s, where when Thorny Park expanded to Wildwater Kingdom, they had the Starlight Amphitheater.
That place I've never been to.
They actually mainly got bands in groups like Tiffany, and they actually used to get the major groups in there.
Okay.
What was the place at Thorny? There used to be a place at Thorny Park a long time ago.
Castle Gardens?
Yep, Castle Gardens. It used to be at Thorny. So yeah, but people are saying that, okay, well, there really isn't that much of a music scene here anymore. But you have places like the Main Gate that started in 1980 that are still here.
When I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the main thing that they're saying is the Lehigh Valley is mainly sports bars now versus actual music venues.
I think there's music venues if you look for them, and there's music venues that are specific to certain music,
Okay.
which is a nice thing to have. If you want to go hear jazz, you come here.
Yeah.
If you want to go hear rock and other stuff, you go across the street over here.
Yeah. But I know of 3 places off the top of my head that do support original music. Right across the parking lot here at the Wooden Match, the Funhouse, and Grumpy's.
Yep.
I don't know if there are any more that I don't know about.
I guess maybe the original music died out a little bit.
Okay.
And there's a lot of cover stuff.
Yeah.
But see, when I was playing out, even when I was in my 20s, it was a lot of cover bands.
Okay.
Where I was playing.
Now, do you think that helped?
Funhouse as a cover band.
Do you think that helps or hurts the music scene here in the area?
I think as long as there's music out there that people can go and listen to live, it helps the music scene.
Okay.
Whether it's original or covers, you have people out there performing and giving you their rendition of the song. I do covers, but you will never hear me do a cover that sounds
Some of
like
them
the original.
do, some of them don't. It's kind of 50-50. Like recently, I caught the Cherry Bombs for the second time. And they took every song, they're like, screw it, and they just put such a twist onto it. It was fantastic.
I like to bastardize songs once in a while. Like, did you hear the way we did Ain't No Sunshine with
Yeah.
Baby? That was so awesome.
That's actually one of my all-time favorite songs, too.
I love to change songs up and make them different than what they were originally.
Okay.
That's what I kind of live for when I'm doing music.
Okay.
I never do the song the way the original artist did it.
And not only that, but when you...
Unless it's somebody I really, really respect, like Joss Stone. I
Okay.
do try to sound like her sometimes because I love the voicings that she uses on her music.
Okay. Now, gonna catch you really off guard here, and this is kind of like going into a little bit of the personal. With the music and the art, some people, they start off as a hobby, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, I can make money off this, and then it turns more into the job for them. And some people just use it as like an outlet, and like even like with the music and doing their own music, it's like a way that like, okay, this is my life. Like, which one is it for you? Or is it kind of a combination of both?
For me, the music is more of a release of all of my bottled up tensions. When I get up on stage and perform live, I get to release all of that negative energy.
Okay.
And put it all into the song and into feeling the song and making the audience feel my version of the song.
Okay. Now, what about the art?
The art, I just enjoy making pretty things.
Okay.
So I don't know how I even started with the crystals. Okay, I do know. I had a crystal that I had gotten years ago, and one of my ex-boyfriends wrapped it for me with some soldering wire that we had laying around, and it started to come apart. And I thought, well, I wasn't really crazy about the way it was wrapped to begin with. Maybe I should rewrap it myself and see if I could come up with something better.
Right.
So I did, and it came out so pretty that I just started wrapping all the crystals I had, because back in the day when I was in my 20s, I was kind of into the whole new age thing and crystals and
that was actually big in the area at one point. That was actually big in the area at one point.
And you have Lost River Caverns out there.
Yeah, Crystal Cave, of course.
Yeah, Lost River Caverns is usually where I go to get my crystals.
Oh, okay. I have not been there yet.
But I mean, it's just something that keeps my hands busy when I have nothing to do. I've been looking for work for the past year. I had a
lot of people have.
A little bit of work for a little while through a temporary agency, but that kind of dried up. And I'm just trying to make money.
Yeah, a lot.
Things that I have laying around.
The unemployment rate is a lot higher in this area than what people realize and what the numbers tell you. You know, and so another question. There's two music venues going in over in Allentown. You think they're going to help the scene at all? You have the arena, which is like the major bands and everything. But members of the band live are also going to be building a music venue in the area. Think that's going to help or hurt the scene at all?
That I'm not sure. I never heard about them happening, so I don't have much input. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's just, you know, what I'm curious about is if it's just going to be for the major bands, or if they're also going to try to get the local scene in there also.
Try to get the local scene involved.
Okay.
That would be nice.
Final question, and this is how I always wrap up every interview. Advice to musicians and artists out there. I don't care if they're a teenager. I don't care if they're 60 years old, took retirement and said, you know what, this is what I wanted to do in college. Let's give it a shot. Advice to people out there.
My advice to anybody that wants to do something and feels passionate about it is to go ahead and follow their dream. Because if you don't, you never know what could have been. You know, if you just say, well, I'm not good enough, or I don't think I want to try hard enough, or that's too scary for me, you're giving up on the chance at something possibly amazing.
Okay. And basically, it's better to take the chance and not have it work out than to say, just look back in your life and say, what if?
Exactly. That's how I feel about it.
Okay. Actually, I do have one more question. What did you think about the interview?
I enjoyed it.
Okay. You like the style?
Yeah, it was very nice.
I'll be honest with you. Every interview I do, I have a few basic questions, and I just wing it from there.
Yeah.
I just go with it. So, thank you very much for your time, and I greatly appreciate it, believe me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for interviewing me.